Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Entrepreneur Insider. Today my guest is Austin Ditsel. He's from Washington, DC, or just outside. Austin is a young entrepreneur, 24 years old. I'll let this guy take over and tell you all about his story, but you're going to be in for an absolute powerhouse interview here. So Austin, thanks for coming on, man. Take us away.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Austin Ditsel from Annapolis, Maryland. It's right outside of Washington, D.C. So if you're ever in the area, we'll go have a happy hour or something in Metropolitan. But my story is, I guess, probably similar to a lot of you all that are entrepreneurs for a while. Started my first company at, I think, like 12 years old or something. Funny story behind that is really just because I hated asking my mom for movie tickets to go see Batman and stuff. And I just wanted to kind of be independent, not have to ask anyone permission to do what I wanted. And so, yeah, like I set my mission on like, I want to be self-sufficient when I was a kid. And by 13, was able to buy my mom flowers for her Valentine's Day with my own money. So that felt pretty good. And then let's see, by, I don't know, like 16, I'll keep this short. Basically by 21, sold it. And then went on to college. Had a few businesses in there, started like, I guess growing my brand and career, and started doing speaking gigs on like spring breaks, dude. I used to go, it was like 3 spring breaks in a row. I went to San Diego for one to do a speaking conference. The other one I went to Amsterdam, or I just went to Europe and I did 2 in that same week. It was, I remember I actually had to get a final moved while I was in college because I had to like push a flight back from, I was in Frankfurt, Germany, doing a speaking gig there. And anyway, long story short, I built a business in college, graduated last May, so about a year ago to this date. And from there, I've been in online now for 4 years. I'll tell you what, though, for the first 2 years in college, I was actually pre-dental because that's what I thought I was supposed to do, right? Go to school, get grades, get a high-paying job, work really hard. And so then I read a book. I'm sure a lot of you guys have read it, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Changed my life, realized that the quadrant, if you guys have read it, you know what I'm talking about. But basically, there's a different mindset and different, lifestyle that, employees have versus entrepreneurs. And literally the day after reading that book, I changed my major from dentistry to online marketing. Wow. And graduated with a degree in online marketing. And from there, I was growing my digital marketing agency for 2 years. A lot of you guys will see my story online. If you look me up, I basically was stuck and frustrated with the model of digital marketing because I would basically sell a project, and then I would do the work for that project myself. And then on the 3rd month, I'd be broke. Yeah. And that's because I wasn't selling in month 2. I was doing all the work. And so I didn't really have a system-dependent business. It was people-dependent. And then I took a course by a guy named Dave Rogan-Moser. And if you guys are in the digital marketing space, you've seen his ads. He's actually much taller in person than he looks on the ads. Yeah. So I took his course, revolutionized my business. Within 8 months, got to I think the final number was like $8,700 a month. And then once I stuck with that, that was awesome. Dave reached out to me a few times just for going back and forth. And it was mentoring me and showing me, how to grow the business. Then when it came down to him looking at starting a new business, and he saw, some of the things I was doing on top of my digital marketing and doing some, Shark Tank style contest stuff. Anyway, he reached out and he said, Austin, I think you're a hustler. Let's do this. I think that we should team up together and start the Entrepreneur Alliance, which is this global club for digital marketing. Not just digital marketing, but anybody that's using digital marketing to grow their business. Coaches, anybody like that. And so we've been doing that for about 7 months now. And so I'm kind of proud of the results at this point because this is my first time building a company at scale. Really just a different mindset, I would say. But working with Dave has been cool. We've gotten to 800 members as of this week and across 45 countries. And we're really all about getting entrepreneurs offline and hanging out in person, closing the laptop and creating a real friendship and not just a connection, So short story long, that's who I am. Hustler at heart, love the grind, yet I want to do it in the right way that gives me the lifestyle I want.
That's fantastic, man. Yeah, I mean, your story motivates me, man. That's why I wanted to get you on here and speak to everyone because, obviously being a young guy as well and achieving so much at, 24 and whatnot. I've seen you doing some work with, Ty Lopez as well. So, you're getting a lot of stuff done, getting your brand and your name out there. I mean, you said you talked about teaming up with Dave and whatnot and aligning yourself with other people. How important do you think that is for entrepreneurs starting out, that maybe don't have much money or, don't have much business experience and stuff like that? How important do you think it is aligning yourself with a network of people that, obviously are on a higher level than you, but obviously, reaching up to be able to play to their level? How important do you think that is for, entrepreneurs?
I would say it's literally the number one thing that you should do. And here's why I say that, and you can tell me how in depth you want me to go, but I'm a really passionate person on this subject.
Yep.
Because for me, my high school friend group was like the party guys, right? Like we had parties all the time and people over at the house nonstop. And when I was in college, that escalated. And I remember, guys, if you don't know me, I literally do not have a filter. I will not hold back. So you'll see, I'm totally transparent and vulnerable with you all. But I remember when I was a sophomore in college, and this was right before I read Rich Dad Poor Dad. So I was pre-dental. I was at UGA, and I got in trouble. I got arrested for having a fake ID at 20 years old in a college town. Kind of expected, but at the same time, I was just being a stupid kid, and I was drinking way too much. But I was still doing good in school, and, I don't know. It was just my influence was around me. It was kind of clouding my potential, I would say. And I still had my lawn care company at this time. So I felt like I was coasting, though. I was not trying to grow the business. I was had enough to support myself, doing good in school, but I was just partying and throwing all my money away. Then got busted. And I was then confined basically at home when all my friends could go out in the town. And so in my state of boredom and also kind of in reflection of well, what the hell am I going to do with all this free time now that I'm not chasing girls downtown and doing that stuff? And I picked up books. And I started reading, the ones that are behind my head right now, right?
Yep.
Rich Dad Poor Dad, 4-Hour Work Week, Think and Grow Rich. And literally after reading Rich Dad Poor Dad, within those 2 weeks after getting arrested, changed my major to marketing and realized the power of that. So I bring this up for 2 reasons. One, in order for me to go from making about $1,000 a month with my businesses when I was about 20 years old to growing it from there, I first had to do one thing. I had to replace my friends. And I know that sounds really harsh, but one of my first mentors that I used to listen to every day was a guy named Jim Rohn. He was the mentor to Tony Robbins. And he said, you're the sum of your 5 closest friends. And that if you hang out with 5 friends who are losers, guess who's the 6th one? You.
100%.
If you hang out with 5 millionaires, guess who will be the 6th one? You. And it just made me really think wow, birds of a feather do flock together. I need to start elevating my relationships so I can elevate who I want to be as a person. And so I remember a very specific night. I was this is about a year after that. I was really focused on trying to build my marketing business, and it was hard. The distractions were real. I lived in a house with 4 guys, and like I said, we loved to party. And they were all downstairs on a Tuesday night. They were all in uppers, just going crazy. Dubstep was really loud, and I could hear the girls giggling. Pizza, I could smell it. And it was I wanted to be downstairs so bad, yet I wanted my dreams harder. I wanted that more. And I remember I was doing a webinar that night. It was a Tuesday. I thought I could plan out this webinar and it would be quiet in the house. So I planned it out is for doing a digital marketing training for a Navy team out in Okinawa, Japan. They all it was like basically this group of guys that wanted to get out of the army and go into entrepreneurship. Anyway, I was doing a training for these guys out in Japan. And I remember it was at 2 a.m. my time, which is basically 2 p.m. their time. They had just gotten off their shift. And I remember that it was so loud that I had to actually lift up my mattress and put it against the wall of over my door so that the sound wouldn't come in and they could actually hear my training. And so I just want to, share that story with you because there's going to be times that there's distractions. People want to hold you back. Guys are going to say, Austin, cancel the webinar. Come on downstairs. They're going to say, Austin, we're having so much fun. Like that can hold off. And if you really want it, just freaking turn the distractions off and maybe elevate your relationships. It's something that I've continuously had to do. And it's not, the first time is the hardest. But then you're going to change your friends from being like, whoever they are now, to then the next level where they're like thinking bigger, they're doing entrepreneurial things, like they're trying stuff out, they're positive about what you're doing, like they're motivated, yet their thinking is capped. There may be like you're in a think tank and everybody's making like $3 grand, $5 grand, 10 grand a month. Everybody's just kind of sharing those kind of ideas around. And so I would say that once you have that level, you need to actually elevate yourself. Again, there's levels to this shit, as Drake says. And then there's this next level of entrepreneurship where you're hanging around guys that are making 20 to 50 grand a month. And then you need to upgrade again. And so every time, every level has a new devil, and you need to be separating yourself from the pack and surrounding yourself with people who are thinking a little bit bigger than you are. And you'll start to understand that, like, it helps so much to understand like what the next level takes to do, and always act as if you see 5 guys that are all making 50 grand a month, acting and doing similar kind of things, you need to first take on the persona of the person doing those things, and then the results will come. Here's a paradigm shift for you. Think about this. What comes first? Is it the $1 million? Or is it the millionaire? Think about the idea of that, because as Jim Rohn says, shame on the man who makes $1 million but does not become a millionaire, but he'll lose his millions quickly. And that just made me just shiver. Like that made me think like, wow, think about all those people that won the lottery, or they just happen to have an affiliate product or something that goes wild. They make a ton of money. And then all of a sudden something goes away and it breaks, or you lose all of it. If you didn't go through the struggles to become the millionaire who deserved it, then you'll never make it again. And so whatever struggles that you're going through, whatever trials and tribulations that you have, know that it's building the foundation of millionaire personality and equity. And the $1 million, the cash, the result will catch up. But it's always about the person you become first will attract the results. So just think about that all the time. I need to first become something before I can attain something. I don't just attain it and then become it. It's like if I want to go to the bar, is it like when I have a hot girl in my waist that I'm now confident? Or is it because I'm confident that I'll get a hot girl in my waist? Like, do you guys see how it goes hand in hand? And this goes all the time. So just think about that. First, you must become the person that deserves it before you'll ever get it.
That's fantastic, man. I mean, that's golden. I'm actually in the stages right now of writing a book called Destined for Greatness. And it's basically a series of interviews with 10 of the most successful entrepreneurs around the world. And what we're going to find is, from going through these interviews and speaking with people, is there's actually only 2 or 3 principles that seem to be true in everyone's journey that made them successful, and it goes back to what you're saying based around, the paradigm shift, becoming first before acquiring, because the person who acquires first, it's like the lottery winners, isn't it? They make all this money, and statistics are the lottery winners are broke within 2 to 3 years because their self-image and their self-worth wasn't at a millionaire status yet, Another one of my mentors said to me, he said, if you want to become a millionaire, don't hang out with millionaires. They can't teach you anything. He said, hang out with people that are 10 times or 100 times where you want to be, and automatically will rub off on you and you will get to some sort of success in terms of if that's a million, if that's 10 million, if that's 100 million. He said, always hang out with people that are at least 10 times from where you are. So I think that, really shows the power of influence.
Nathan, I mean, like, look, we're all entitled to our opinions. I respect yours. You respect mine. I would actually disagree with that, though.
Yep.
So personally, and I'll explain why. I think that you need to learn the levels as you go on. And, it's not about how long you stay at the levels, but I think that you need to progress through all of them.
Yep.
So it's like, I really don't think that hanging out with a billionaire, for me right now, is the best use of my relationship. Of course, like if Mark Cuban said, hey, Austin, let's hang out, like I'm not going to deny that, right?
Yeah.
But I don't think that Mark Cuban can teach me what I need
Understood.
to get to. Yeah, in the same way that maybe somebody that's making my next step would be 50 grand a month. Like that's what I need to get to.
Yep.
So I think that somebody that is making, 50 grand a month would be the person I need to hang out with, not somebody who's making $1 million a month.
Yeah.
Because there are different marketing strategies, different business structures that go hand in hand, and you need to have that infrastructure built up first. And that's the infrastructure not only being profits, but also being, mindset, foundation stuff.
Yeah. Do you believe though, I mean, business aside for a moment, do you believe that, let's say hanging out with Mark Cuban, okay, he's way ahead of everyone. Would you say just hanging around him though, it would elevate your level of thinking and your next milestone of 50 grand a month or whatever it is would be a lot easier to attain because you'd be like, hey, look at this guy so far ahead. Look at what he's been able to achieve. 50 grand a month for him is absolutely nothing. If it's possible for him to get to there, then 50 grand for me. And it elevates your level of thinking to be able to get to the next milestone. I mean, not necessarily hanging out with him. Like you said, he probably can't teach you anything in terms of your journey right now, but he can teach you what not to do, and what it requires to get to that sort of level. And I mean, for everyone, it's different. Some people don't want to get to that level because coming with those levels, different responsibilities, different everything. But for some people, they want to build a freedom business. Some people want to build a lifestyle business. Some people, want to create the biggest charity and impact the most lives on planet Earth. That requires money. At the end of the day, that requires money. You can't build orphanages just strictly out of love. You can for the first few, manual labor. But if you want to create something significant, all these big charities around the world, like I've got a lot of friends that, they own some really big foundations and stuff. And they're only been able to do this now because of obviously the business success that they've had in various different industries, and now their philanthropy work is to give back and obviously to help people. But they all say to me the same thing. None of these orphanages are built with love, so it's one of those things where I think, having the mindset right and elevating and getting yourself to the next level with people around you, will help you go to that next level. What's your opinion on that?
Yeah, I think that hanging out with people that are 3 steps ahead of you is good. Not just like 1 step and be like 3, but not 10. I think that there gets to a point where it's a little excessive and irrelevant. I don't think that, like, for example, let's say Donald Trump, he's a billionaire, right? The way he invests his money would be different than the way I would invest my money at this point, right? Like he has abilities to invest in skyscrapers, but that's not how he started.
That's
right. So he started with like condominiums. Even probably before that, he probably started with like houses. And then once he got a couple houses and he had the cash, he buys a condominium. He learns how to do a condominium-based business, and then he uses that cash to buy a bigger building. And so it's like you had to progress. You can't go to the skyscraper right away if you have never built a neighborhood before. And they all have different, levels. Like learning how to invest, like Mark Cuban, at that level, it's a different game than if you were to as an angel investor for like some startups in your local area. Like it's just a different level of play. Venture capitalist versus just investing.
Yeah. Would you agree though? I mean, so going back to, let's say, Donald Trump, in terms of investing in skyscrapers, stuff like that, it may be irrelevant to the level that he is compared to other people. But would you say it is fair to say that there is things you can learn from Donald Trump right now, even at the level that he is, in terms of branding, marketing, pitching, selling yourself, all of these things. Yes. So there's certain things you can take from different entrepreneurs.
Absolutely. Like I'm not saying anything against the more soft skills, like personality, mindset, integrity, like the things that make a great entrepreneur, the stuff that is taught in this book here, Think and Grow Rich. So like these are timeless qualities, a quality of a person that I think that you'll see in anybody that's a successful entrepreneur. You'll see like Mark Cuban and let's say Alex Becker, right? Like Alex Becker is an internet marketing guy. If you don't know him, he makes a good amount of money at a young age. And I think that the qualities that he's picked up in this book are the same qualities that makes Donald Trump successful as well. But for example, what you would learn tactically from Donald probably wouldn't be as relevant. So I guess that's a really good point to bring this home is you can look at the guys that are 10, 100x where you are currently and look at them on like what makes them great, but don't think about like what are they doing on a daily basis to get there or to build that kind of business, rather than look at somebody who's making 2x, 3x, 5x more than you and say like, what are they doing tactically every day? For example, let's say that, so me and my team here in the Entrepreneur Alliance, like we're not just in membership-based business. We also have softwares that help conversion rates. One of them is called Proof. You'll pretty much, if you go to almost any thought leader's website now, you'll see Proof on there. It's a little pop-up that shows live buyers on a website and creates a frenzy, really increases conversion rate, sometimes doubles and triples it. But with the idea of that, not just anybody can start a software because it requires, we just hired 2 developers at $11,000 each a month. Like that's a lot of money up front. And so you needed to, in order to like cash flow that, we needed an initial business to fund that. Does it make sense? So there's levels to it. Let's say you do digital marketing, get to 10 grand a month. Once you have that tech, like maybe $5 extra, then you can put it into a membership-based business. And once that's now throwing off 30 grand a month, then you can invest that into a software. And they each have their own qualities that make them good or bad. For example, membership-based businesses, they take a lot of monthly work to keep it running and to keep churn down and to keep trialing up, and a lot of paid advertising strategies and all kinds of stuff, right? The good thing is that, it's not that hard of a sale, right? Like, people want to connect. On the other side, let's look at, but then again, it also has a cap. Like it can only get so big. But then we look at software, right? A lot of upfront cost. You don't know if it's going to hit. There's always going to be bugs, but the gains on a software business are incredible and instantly scalable. At no point in time does each individual customer make it more effort or more work on our team. Makes sense? It doesn't matter if we have 1 customer or 1 million customers. It's basically the same product. And so that's the beauty of having that kind of business. And so you can see this pipeline and almost piggybacking of some businesses funding other businesses and being able to scale and get to higher gains. And that's why I'm saying is like, we're in the software business now. And like, I work a lot with Alex Becker and, as you guys know, Ty Lopez. And so like, I'm learning from them on a different level than I was when I was just kind of hanging out with like SEO guys and affiliate marketing guys and, people that, which by the way, all great things. I'm not downing them, just different levels.
Yeah.
Right. So, long story short, man, I think that there are levels to it. Tactically learn from people that are 3 steps ahead of you, but mentally learn from people that are 100 steps ahead of you.
Yeah, cool, man. Cool. I think you summed that up nicely, finished it right up, How important would you say, I always talk about, I say sales is everything, how important would you say sales is for the entrepreneur? If you were to start again and look back on your journey, at what percentage do you think sales came into it? You know, I believe in what I always say to everyone, we're always selling ourselves. You know, it doesn't matter if you're behind a brand, you know, the brands that go really big is the people that step out from behind the brand, you know, but obviously that requires, you know, you just be able to sell yourself, you know, be able to sell your product, be able to sell your services, and to be able to sell others on the idea of what you're creating. You know, what you guys have done with the Entrepreneur Alliance, you know, you really had to, you know, sell a vision of what you guys are creating, you know, where you're going to take it, how you're going to help people, you know, all that comes down to, you know, obviously, you know, getting people to buy into that vision. How important would you say sales is as the one skill set for the entrepreneur to really invest in and really learn?
Yeah, I would say it's like obviously the most important part of business. You don't have a business without sales. And you know, for me, that was a tough lesson that I had to get over when I was, I guess, kind of a newbie entrepreneur, right? Like a very obvious mistake that I see a lot of entrepreneurs do first is they start with like all the non-income producing activities when they first start a business, such as initial branding and, you know, do I get an LLC and an S corp, or you know, how do I hire, or like all of these things. And what you really need to think about, or even a product, even creating a product first. Knowing what I know now, I would say sell first and figure out your product later. I mean, I know it sounds crazy for the first time that you're hearing it, because it sounded crazy to me. It's like, I'm going to sell something that I don't really know how to do the thing I'm selling or produce the thing that I'm selling. But I want you to know that people will stick with you because of why they want to buy from you more than what you're actually selling them. So it all goes back to Simon Sinek, one of the most famous TED Talks in the world. He talks about the golden circle, and it goes, what, how, why? And people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. And what you do only acts as a logical confidence booster that they should, in fact, buy with you. They're trying to find what to buy from you because they believe in your why.
Yep.
And so here's a perfect example, side by side, of a business that knows how to sell and one that has a really good product. ClickFunnels versus lead pages. All right. ClickFunnels. If you guys don't know, a guy named Russell Brunson started a company called ClickFunnels, and it's a landing page builder, and they're trying to do a lot of other stuff I don't think they should really mess with, but they're really like a great landing page or a full-on funnel builder. And then lead pages is very similar, but they don't necessarily have the full component of all of the steps of the funnel that you would really need to build an entire business. But with that being said, they're basically comparable. And so Russell is the face of ClickFunnels, and he constantly is selling like the dream and like what your life could be like using their platform. And it's like, you didn't care what he sold you. You just happened to see like, he's selling me the dream life. He's saying exactly what I want. And it just so happens that I can attain that using his system. I can use it not only to promote my own business, but I can even do it as an affiliate for his own business and use ClickFunnels as a source of income. Versus lead pages, who's basically just a really good software product, right? Like they just nailed the product. It's clean looking and it works well, all of it, right? But they don't have a face of their brand. They don't have a personality, and there's no vision casted. So if we look at those side by side, we can see the growth rate. And I'm not going to share my screen, but you guys can do it on your own. Go to Google keyword results or search engine and look up ClickFunnels versus lead pages, and you'll see the trend lines. ClickFunnels is like this, and lead pages is just like tapering off. And it is just incredible how much of an upper hand ClickFunnels is getting over lead pages right now, all because they have a cult following. They have sold, and that's what this comes back to, is selling the dream on exactly what you want, the conversion rates that you want, the kind of business model that you want, the kind of lifestyle that you want, can all happen because of this product. And whatever you're selling, whether that's digital marketing services, an e-commerce product, an affiliate product, selling the dream on what is the potential using your service. What would life be like using what you have to offer needs to be more important. It needs to be the focus of the sales pitch rather than what you're selling. Make sense? What is the kind of lifestyle that you can give a chiropractor because they now have inbound leads coming into their business? They don't have to worry or stress about where their next patient is coming from. And you as a digital marketing consultant can sell that vision. Not, oh, I can boost your ranks on Google by, mapping out the algorithm. Like, no, screw that. They don't want to hear the techie shit. They want to hear, what will this do for me? How is it going to improve my life? And if you can focus that in your sales pitch, you'll win.
Fantastic, man. I mean, that's golden. So last weekend, I just spent some time with one of my mentors, and we were talking about sales and everything. He's known as, the 21st century sales authority and stuff. And we're mapping out, and we're talking about, so he uses a process called, results and proof. So proof is, okay, I helped this person make an extra $40,000. The result was, how did this affect that person's life? So, it was, or let's say someone lost a bunch of weight. So there was a mother that lost a bunch of weight. Now she's got more energy for her kids. She's let go of the fear of, potentially something happening, not being around to see the kids, get to see them married. And that links into, obviously, the result. And people apply that result. People don't worry about the proof. I mean, proof is still important, but the result is what connects with people, because people forget that no matter what business you're in, you're dealing with people, even if it's B2B or whether it's B2C, there's always a people component involved in, like I buy into your vision with the Entrepreneur Alliance because I can see real people behind it, I think it's the same with any business, it's not just, videos made, it's actually people doing it. So, and I look at that and go, if you're doing that, I can do that. And someone looks here and goes, if you're doing that, I can do that. So I think, vision, and obviously it all comes back into sales, being able to sell your vision, being able to sell yourself, and being able to obviously back that up with the results that you can get for people. So I think that's super important, man. And I think you summed it all up really well about Russell Brunson and ClickFunnels and stuff. Phenomenal, man. What would be one book that you would recommend to the audience here? If you were to just take one book, I know you've read a bunch of them. So what would be the one book you would recommend and why?
Just read all of those.
Yep.
Here. Oh, and also this one. Yeah. I would say those are the really important ones. These are the intros to entrepreneurship. I'm a big fan of Elon Musk. I think it's changing the world. I think really big. I'm gonna go ahead and put this back on my computer. But 4-hour work week changed my life. Made me really understand the importance of systems. And first you eliminate, then automate, then delegate, right? A lot of people think about delegating first because, they just don't want to do the work, and that's inefficient. And then they try and automate things without eliminating them first. And so that just you have a lot of just repetitive logistical issues. And then if you eliminate too much without automating and then delegating, you're shooting yourself in the foot. So I would say that's one of the most important lessons I've learned. And then a lot of the mindset stuff that's in that book. I'll give you guys 3 books in the order I think that you guys should read them. First, I would say Think and Grow Rich, because it's the interviewing of the 500 wealthiest people back in like the 1920s by a guy named Napoleon Hill. Wrote the book. He was the disciple of Andrew Carnegie, one of the wealthiest men in the world. He got access to this guy's Rolodex and interviewed all these people and documented what are the successful habits and traits that make them incredibly wealthy and rich. So that's number 1, because it's all about mindset development. Number 2 would be Rich Dad Poor Dad, because it's specific to entrepreneurship and making you understand what does it take to truly win, right? Like there's a huge difference in what you need to think about on a daily basis from being an employee to being an entrepreneur. And it takes a different kind of guts. It takes a different kind of human to do that. And so if you feel like you're naturally inclined as an employee, I think that you can actually change the mental processes in your head, you can change your programming with Thinking Grow Rich and then Rich Dad Poor Dad. Once you have that foundation, then start adding on tactical books, right? On how to do stuff, right? And I would say a couple of great tactical ones would be 4-Hour Work Week, the E-Myth, and then the Lean Startup would be really good. So yeah, start with those books. They're the foundation. And also, do not be afraid to invest in yourself. Like, spend money to go to conferences like crazy. I go to about a conference a month. I set aside at least 10% of my income every month just for personal development and growth. So conferences, I pay for about a $1,000 course every 3 months or sooner, sometimes less than that, every 2 months, every 60 days. I end up buying a course. My last course was on Facebook Messenger bots. The one before that was on email marketing. The one before that was on digital marketing, like a specific skill in it. So invest like crazy into you as a human. I think it's the best place you can put your money as an entrepreneur.
Fantastic, man. And what would you say, someone who's got an entrepreneurial bone in their body, you know, maybe they're working a job now, or, you know, they've got a bunch of ideas, because I know as entrepreneurs, we always got a ton of ideas. You know, the problem is, you know, narrowing down which one are the best ones and obviously executing on one of them to make it successful. So what would you say would be the best business model if you were to start again, you know, for someone who's an entrepreneur, you know, in the heart, but obviously maybe hasn't applied or started any businesses yet? What would you say is the best business model for them to sort of align themselves with to, you know, obviously scale and grow out something for themselves?
Yeah. I personally am a big fan of digital marketing as a service that you can sell.
As a consulting model,
how to do it, which is pretty funny for me to say, because I understand the power of it. And I personally, like, I could do fulfillment by this point. I feel pretty proficient at ads. I don't know anything about SEO. I'll tell you honest. And I'm not really big on, I don't really know how to do any Google AdWords or stuff like that. But I do know Facebook ads really well. Now, I started off selling these services with having no idea how to do fulfillment. And what I would do is I would find a really good contractor who would just kill it for my client. And I would split the commission with them 50-50 every month. So it was a retainer. I would close the retainer on $1,500 a month, $1,500. And then I would pay a contractor $750 to $1,000 to do all of the work. And then I would keep the in-between for me to do the sales and to do the reporting and to do any more outbound reaching out, prospecting things. So I just kind of kept the pipeline in. And this is actually how I grew my income quickly to $8,700 a month in revenue within 8 months. And that made me self-sufficient. But I'll tell you this honest truth, guys. It's hard as shit, right? Like, it is hard. So don't think that it's an easy path. But what you can learn from my experience is that you can do it faster than I did. I will say that I did do it pretty fast. I made my first sale within 4 days of taking a course on how to do this. Called 6K Success is actually how I met Dave Rogan-Moser, my partner. And I took the course. Actually, I didn't even finish the course yet. I had got to the point where I had the sales script in the course. And they didn't tell me anything else. Like, I hadn't unlocked the other videos. I'm like, I don't want to wait. I need to make money. All right. So I went out and I used the sales script, called like 20 people that had businesses, used sales script on them, and I closed them. I closed 1 out of 20. Got my first $1,500 deal, passed it off with my client. All of a sudden, now I'm in college. I'm making an extra $500 a month residually on retainer, with really only doing maybe 2 hours a month of work. And that kind of like sped the ball from me and kept it going. But I remember this point where I was only making $2,000 a month or something like that. And it wasn't really enough for me to live on my own. I was living at my mom's house. And I was at this point where I was like, I needed to either get a job or I needed to land a couple more clients. And so there's a point where I was going out and interviewing all these big marketing agencies. I wanted to have like Coca-Cola or Delta or Home Depot as a client. Not as like personal client. I go work for the agency that had them as clients. And like, I was going to go and do that like down the employee marketer route. But at the same time that I was interviewing at all these places, like literally going downtown every day, I was also setting up as many appointments with as many business owners as possible. I didn't give a shit what niche they were in. I just wanted to talk to somebody about what I had. Right? So I just went out and I was like, I got this amazing service for you that can, change your life. You're going to have inbound leads every month. Your business will be more predictable and I can scale it for you instantly. And so I would tell them all about digital marketing. Half of them weren't qualified and couldn't afford me. And so I learned, how to waste my time really well. Now I know how to do a good qualifying before I give them a call. But so learning lesson there. But I'll say that it came down to like where my back was against the wall. I was interviewing at many places the same day I was doing consulting at Starbucks, sharing people my plan. And it just so happened. And this is how the universe works, man. When you are committed to a goal, and I mean absolutely committed, you're just so committed that like there's not a possible outcome. The universe is gonna get out your way. It's liquid and you're the rock and it's just gonna move around you. And so I was just so committed that like I'm gonna be independent. I need to get out of my mom's house. I don't want to get a job, but I will. Last case scenario. So like I had that, but I'm like, God, that's the last thing I ever really want. It's just like I hate listening to other people and having them tell me how to do stuff. And it's like I taught half my classes in college on online marketing. That was my major, and I was like doing stuff online that they thought was incredible, my teachers and stuff. And it was like, didn't matter that didn't matter. What mattered was the results. And so I think a lot of people just soak up a lot of info and they never take action. But when their back is up against the wall and they actually need the results to come, if you commit yourself to them, you commit yourself to your goals, it will happen. Because when you commit, you take the action that's necessary. And so long story short, I remember this was in October and I had interviewed at Salesforce. I was in third round interviews at Salesforce. I was interviewing at 22 Squared, which is the biggest marketing agency in Atlanta. And I was interviewing at Nebo, which is a really nifty digital marketing shop. And they had some pretty awesome clients. And I was in like third round interviews with all of them. And then, right then, I landed. I got on a got on a business podcast that was for Atlanta. Did my spiel about how digital marketing can change their business. Got a couple consultations out of that, and ended up landing a $5,000 per month deal. And that changed the game. It was and by the way, this is the first time I was like it was literally. I'm not telling you guys this just to like make up a good story. It was at the point where I knew like last ditch effort. I couldn't just get one client to get by with my bills. I either needed a whale or I needed 3 clients at least. And so I'm like, I just got to pitch a high ticket. I just got to do it. I know that I'm worth it. I know that I can get an ROI on this for my client. And I know I'm valuable, but I just never valued me at $5,000 a month for one client. Well, you know what? I pitched it with confidence and he closed that day. Wrote the check out. He said, Austin, I can't wait to work with you. And I got my income from, at that point, it was $3,700 a month to $8,700 a month.
Fantastic,
and
man.
I was able to decline all the offers from those marketing agency and Salesforce.
Bet that felt good, man.
Dude, it felt so good. So good.
Cool, man. Cool. I mean, you summed it up really well once again, man. I think it all ties back into obviously sales, like you said. You had to obviously sell, pitch, and obviously persuade them in an ethical way that you were the person to be able to deliver and obviously get that job done for them. And obviously, clients only going to stay around if you get them results more than less. But you also touched briefly on, which I think is phenomenal, is about knowing your self-worth. Up until that point, maybe you didn't feel like, you know, you were worthy of obviously that fee, but then obviously you told yourself that, hey, I could do this, I'm worthy of it, you know, self-worth and obviously self-education to be able to have the knowledge to be able to deliver the results for the client, and then you land that $5,000 a month client.
Yeah.
Cool,
Yeah,
man.
it's always about acting as if, man. You go into that consultation, like, this is no problem. You've done this many, many times. You know, obviously, don't overpromise and underdeliver. I'm talking about doing this ethically. I'm talking about doing this with integrity and honesty and
Absolutely.
knowing that here's the thing. Don't just sell something and sell the dream and then not be able to deliver on the dream. Like, that is a totally different scenario, and don't twist my words here. I'm not you, but don't, as an audience, listen to what I'm saying and say like, oh, I'm like, you know, I've never done digital marketing before. I don't, you know, I expect to do do this service for the very first time, having no experience, and then selling $5,000 a month. And just because like, I know that this service can, it's like, no, deliver on the service and you can charge what you're worth, not by hour. And so I think this is a good lesson for a lot of entrepreneurs to think about the cost. They put their worth, the price that they ask, based on what's going to cost them to fulfill that task.
Yeah.
So I used to think about like website design. I used to do a lot of websites back in the day, and I used to say like, well, you know, I guess I'd be willing to do it for $35 an hour. Like in college, like that's going to pay for, you know, what I need. And so I would only close, you know, clients at $1,000 a website. It wasn't getting me anywhere. And it felt uncomfortable for me to charge, you know, more than that, right? Like it felt uncomfortable. Like I knew that they were spending thousands of dollars on this website that wasn't going to get them any money. But that's why I like digital marketing so much, because it does pay itself off if you do it the right way. See, I love performing for my clients. I love the feeling. Like, for example, that first client, when I closed them on $1,500 a month, no joke, it was a retainer of $1,500, and then we had a $3,000 ad spend. So his total budget was $4,500. With $3,000 ad spend on Facebook, we made him $28,700. It's almost a 900 and something X% ROI on ad spend.
Yeah.
And I love that feeling of like just over delivering. And I realized that at that moment that I could have charged twice as much as a retainer.
Yeah.
And he would have paid it happily. I would have been his most excited expense. He's like, I am so happy I'm paying this professional $5,000 a month. I'm like his most favorite $5,000 a month to spend, because this $5,000 a month actually pays me this much money in return, despite my $5,000 per month suite for my office, right? Yeah. So it's like, think about the value that you bring compared to the cost.
Yeah.
So that's why I like clients that have a very high ticket customer. Let's say, for example, orthodontists. Their clients, their patients, you know, will spend upwards of, you know, $10,000. Right. And so if you just bring one customer and let's say their profit is $2,000 or something per client, well, you know, you can, if you just bring them one, you're going to now profit them $500 if you're charging $1,500. Well, imagine if you could bring them 3, 5, 10, right? So think about what would be the most that you could basically sell for based on the value that you can deliver. And that's going to be how you can scale your business in the most effective way. And it's how you're going to ultimately change the way you think about everything. I'm not kidding you. Everything changes when you value your time more. Dude, I outsource things like crazy all the time now. If I know that it's going to cost me $35, but I know that I either pay $35 or I give up an hour of my time, I will pay that $35 easy any time of the week. It doesn't matter what the task is. If it's going to save me an hour, I'll pay $35 to save that hour, because I value my time at least at that. Yeah. And once I started changing my mindset on what I value my time as, all of a sudden opportunities change, business changes, clients change, people treat you differently, because you value what you're really worth. So increase your worth as a person. So become the person first, You have to become a valuable person to get paid valuably. It all goes back to becoming a great entrepreneur.
That's fantastic, man. Yeah, I think what you said, Jim Rohn says it best. You don't get paid for the hour, you get paid for the value that you provide within that hour.
Yes.
Obviously you studied a lot with Jim Rohn and stuff, so you know that very well. And I think, that was a big mindset shift for me. Obviously you're taught to go to school, get good grades, go down to university, or if you're in America, the college path, and then obviously, get a good, safe job and get paid per hour. But then you look around and you see people running businesses and making 5 times, 10 times the amount that someone who's working a job is, and working less. Don't get me wrong, starting a business initially, you work probably a lot more than someone working a job. But, eventually the ultimate goal with the business is to get to a point where you're working less, but making more, and that comes down to obviously getting paid for, the value you provide within those hours that you work rather than the time that you spend. So, you touched on that really well, man. It's fantastic. And, I always get asked, what do I wear on my wrist? So I wear this wristband. It says living in obligation. So Austin, what does obligation mean to you? For me, obligation is I'm obligated to grow and become the very best version of myself. So in order I can provide value to this community and provide value to everyone that I come in contact with, business partners, clients, and obviously I have an obligation to fulfill my ultimate potential. So that's what obligation is for me. And I wear the wristband just to always remind myself why I'm doing this. Why are we doing this call right now? To serve this community. Why am I doing everything I'm doing? Why do I get up early? Why do I stay up late? So what would you say obligation means to you?
Dude, you summed it up exactly how I would. You're obligated to fulfill your potential, right? At any point in time, you can increase your potential, so you're obligated to do more, which is great. That means that you're building your influence, you're building your worth to the marketplace, and you'll get paid accordingly. But as you come to, let's say, for example, me sharing my stories here today,
yep.
I feel obligated that because I've gone through the adversities. I'm not saying I had a rough life, but I went through the adversity of having to shut out friends that I love because they were holding me back. I was obligated to do that to my dreams. I was obligated to do that for my family that I wanted to help. I was obligated to do that for the legacy that I want to leave. And so I put the mattress on my wall when I was a college kid, blocking out the noise on my webinar from the college kids downstairs partying their ass off. I was obligated to do that because it was what was necessary to achieve what I really needed to achieve. Notice that obligation goes hand in hand with sacrifice, right? So no success is achieved for free. Everything, every promise has a price. You have to think about what is really deserving. So do you deserve to make $1 million without going through the adversities, the struggles, the things that have to happen? You're obligated to go through those things to get the $1 million. If you don't go through, it's not an obligation, right? So think about how do you increase your worth as a human and increase your blueprint, as Tony Robbins would say, for the story that you tell yourself every day. You're obligated to fulfill that storyline. And at any point in time that you fall short of your obligations, you're not only doing a disservice to you, you're doing a disservice to everybody that could have benefited from you fulfilling that obligation. I think it's almost, in fact, selfish if you keep it to yourself. That's why it is, I don't know, what time is it here? It is almost 10 p.m. at night here on the East Coast of the U.S. And I'm doing this because I feel obligated to maybe somebody, one person out of your all's group of 20,000 people, one person I can help with my stories, one person I can help motivate, one person that I can maybe just really relate to. Maybe you're listening to me right now and you're like, you can see yourself in me, or maybe maybe part of my story, like you we're back up against the wall and how to go between, do I start a business or do I go do a job, or, you have friends holding you back, or you want to do one thing, but everybody else is telling you to do another. And you just have to go with your gut instinct, and maybe just one thing out of all the things I've said tonight, maybe it impacted you in a way. And I feel obligated to share all of these things with you tonight. And that's why I'm doing this call, is to fulfill my obligation to you.
Fantastic, man. I appreciate it. And I'm sure, you're going to impact, and, a lot of people are going to listen to this message and be like, they can see themselves where you were or where you are. And, obviously, that they can obviously achieve what you're achieving. So one last thing to close out. What's one bit of advice that you want to give to people to leave them in, obviously, on how to get to the next level in their life?
Yeah. I would say we've already gone over association.
Yep.
Right? So that's a big one. Constantly be learning. Entrepreneurs never have a graduation day.
Yep.
Learn skills just as much as you learn mindset, right? So I know a lot of people, they are in this, me and Alex call it mental masturbation, right? You're learning so much by yourself, and you're just suffocating yourself in this world, getting nowhere just because you're learning a lot of stuff. Right? You're paying for courses, you're reading books, and you're doing all this great stuff, and it's great. You're learning stuff, but you're not getting anywhere. It's because you're not taking action, because you're keeping it to yourself. There's no productive things being done. All right? So get out of your mind and get out there in person and do stuff instead of learning more about digital marketing, sales strategies. Instead, go out and trip and fall 20 times. You'll learn the strategies quicker. You'll become better. Get your motor running in your mouth. Go out and just share your story, share your passions. That is a way better lesson than any course can teach you. All right, so no mental masturbation. Stop that shit. Go out and actually take action. Interact with people, not just yourself. All right? Don't just learn, but do. It is so important to do those things. And then I'll end it on this. It is important to not only just do the best you can do, but do all that you can do. I know that it's hard to tell the difference, but think about this in terms of push-ups. All right? If I told you what is the best amount of push-ups that you could do right now, Nathan, tell me, if I asked you, how many push-ups can you do right now? If you just dropped on the floor, how many could you do?
50.
50. All right, 50 in a row. So that is the best you can do. But is it all that you can do? No, because tomorrow you can do 50 more, right? You can go to the gym again and do 50 more. And then you can do again, 50 more. Yeah. And then you can do it again and get 80 more. 80? How'd you get to 80? I thought your best was 50. And it's because as you do more, your best is increased. And so it's not only important to do all that you can do, it's important to do the best that you can do, and then do that again. Now here's the key. Don't wait too long in between all that you can do. All right? So I think, as they say in one of the old books, if you wait too long, the weeds take the garden, right? So you need to make sure that, you don't wait 2 weeks in between doing 50 push-ups, because who knows, the next time you go to the gym, you might only be able to do 40 push-ups, right? So think about this in consultations. You're doing sales in any way, right? Real estate, digital marketing, whatever. If you do one consultation a day, you'll be able to close 3 out of 10 people. And you do that every single month. That's 30 people every month. And out of 30, let's say your closing ratio is 1 out of 30, all right, in month 1. But then you do another 30 in month 2. And guess how many? I bet you're going to close 3. And then in month 3, you do another 30 consultations. I bet you get up to 10. 10 out of 30. How did you go from 1 out of 30 to 10 out of 30? How did you increase your results by 10-fold? Because you did not only the best that you could do, you did all that you could do. Over and over and over again. Repetition is key. What you practice in private will be rewarded for in public. Always continue practicing. And if that makes any sense to any of you guys right now, I think that the number one thing that you can do is just get out there and practice your skill. Practice means actually doing it, and not just in front of the mirror. I mean, practice on your friends, practice on people, practice in real life. Practice does not mean that like you go and do the real, like you go into the expectation that you're going to win. For example, in pickup lines, pickup mastery, I'll bring this home with this, is if you are, let's say, going to the bar as a guy, and you want to have the confidence to go up to the hottest girl in the room, that 10, well, you need to practice on all the girls that you probably aren't as interested in. Because by the time that you get to the one that you actually want to talk to, your motor, your mind, your confidence, everything will be primed and ready to talk to the one you actually want to. All about that practice and repetition. So go out and practice, even if it's a real practice, not just a self-practice, but a real practice. Go out and make it happen.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Thanks very much. And we appreciate your time to come here and obviously provide value to our audience. I'm going to put all the links to the Entrepreneur Alliance in the bio and all your links. So how do people follow you, Austin?
Yeah, man. I am open to, connecting with any of you guys. If you're in online business specifically, I feel like we'll have a lot of things to talk about. Entrepreneurship, I would love to just hear about your ideas, and we can shoot the shit, talk about stuff. I want to hear about maybe some stories of your life. We can get deep, man. I'm really vulnerable and transparent here. You can find me on almost any social media at Austin Ditsel, Distel. If you're ever in Annapolis, we can go and get happy hour sometime. I do travel a lot now, so I will say, though, that the number one core thing that we're doing right now in the Entrepreneur Alliance is in-person meetings, live masterminds in all the cities around the world. If you ever want to go and check out if there's people in your city that are building an online business, go to jointhealliance.co/map, and you'll be able to see, I bet you, that within a few miles of you, there's somebody in the Entrepreneur Alliance building an online business that is looking for a mastermind partner, somebody to hold them accountable, somebody to hold their friend accountable and share ideas with. And that's what we're really looking to build, is this tight-knit community of people that they can rely upon and shorten their learning curve and connect and be real entrepreneurs, authentic guys building businesses with integrity. And that's what we're all about here at the Entrepreneur Alliance. So connect with me in any way. I would say the best way would be Facebook. I also reply to all my Instagram DMs, so you can find me at Austin Ditsel.
Awesome, man. Awesome. So I'm going to put all of Austin's links in the bio of this video, guys. I highly recommend you take the $1 trial of the Entrepreneur Alliance. It will be the best money that you spend in 2017 if you want to learn all the principles that Austin talked about growing a digital marketing agency, landing clients. You're going to find that some of the most in-depth trainings are inside of that group, and you can literally trial it all for 7 days for $1. And then, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's $30 a month after that, Austin?
Yep, correct. So think about this, $1 a day to get the most involved community for specifically digital marketers. We don't allow really any promotion posts in there, so it's all value, all content, all like being real. You'll find that people are it's so crazy to me how amazing this community is. They literally give away their campaigns. They say, hey, like this copy is working really well. These kind of ads are working really well. Here's my ClickFunnels funnel that's working great for chiropractic. Like, it's just nuts how much they're giving away. Plus, I interview a marketing expert every week. We do live events. Like, it's just an all-around amazing community that you can call home. So, yeah, $1 trial for 7 days. After the 7 days, it's just $30 a month. Or if you want to save some money and do the annual plan, you can get 3 months free by paying all up front for just $260.
Awesome, guys. So yeah, jump over there. You're going to find the link in the bio. Click it, take a free trial. And Austin, thanks very much, man. Thanks for spending your time with us. I know it's late over there, but once again, obligation, man.
The hustle never dies, man. We're all in this together. I'll see you on the inside.
Thanks, brother.